Hey y'all, and welcome to PolitiBrawl. My name is Brian, and while Hakeem Jeffries is screeching about the cancellation of Sesame Street, Steve Scalise is telling the truth about USAID and how it's been wasting our money. Let's dive in.
Reckless Republican rescissions package will undermine America's national security, undermine public health here in this country and across the world. And it actually represents an attack on children. This is extraordinary to me. We're on the floor of the House of Representatives, not debating legislation that is designed to make this country and our economy more affordable, but actually debating legislation that targets Elmo and Big Bird and Daniel Tiger and Sesame Street. That's what we're doing by going after public broadcasting in the United States of America. Sesame Street has a letter of the day. I believe the letter of the day today is C. How appropriate. Because this Republican bill is cruel and it cuts children's programming.
The Democrats on the other side are acting like, oh my God, the world's going to stop spinning on its axis if this spending goes away. So why don't we talk about some of the spending that will go away? Again, borrowed money, not money we just took out of the bank, money we borrowed from countries like China to spend on that is a debt to our kids. So each one of these I list, Mr. Speaker, you should ask. If you vote yes, you're finally relieving that debt burden. But if you vote no, you think it's okay to send this bill to our kids. We're not paying for it today, Mr. Speaker, but our kids would if we keep doing it. If the other side votes no, they want to keep borrowing money from our children to spend $1 million on voter ID in Haiti. The same party that doesn't want voter ID in America calls it racist. Wants to fund voter ID in Haiti. $6 million for net zero cities in Mexico. I know some of their best supporters are waving a Mexican flag in an American city right now, and they support those efforts. Most Americans don't, Mr. Speaker. $3 million for Iraqi Sesame Street. The minority leader held up a Sesame Street character here on the floor, as if Sesame Street's somehow going to go away. I was just watching a commercial on TV yesterday where the Cookie Monster was actually doing an advertisement for Netflix because a private company is paying money to run Sesame Street. It's not going away. It's doing just fine, very lucrative. What will go away is some of the far-left radical views that are being espoused. You can, by the way, when this goes away at NPR, you can still turn on about 6 or 7 other channels and get the same far-left radical views, but they're all going to be private companies, Mr. Speaker. So, they can still watch Sesame Street in Iraq, but let the Iraqi people pay for it, not the taxpayers of the United States of America's children. Today's taxpayers aren't paying for it because it's all borrowed money. $2.1 million for climate resilience in Southeast Asia, Latin America, and East Africa. $500,000 for electric buses in Rwanda. Rwanda's more than free to go buy all the electric buses they want or diesel buses. Why should the taxpayers of America be borrowing money from our children to buy electric buses for Rwanda? $33,000 for being LGBTQI in the Caribbean. Taxpayer money that a no vote today says is more important than strengthening a program like Social Security. I say not. $643,000 for LGBTQI plus programs in the Western Balkans. Borrowed money. $567,000, Mr. Speaker, for LGBTQI plus programs in Uganda. $5.1 million to strengthen the, quote, resilience of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex, and queer global movement. Not sure what that global movement is. They can continue that movement in some other way, but just not with the taxpayer dollars of the United States of America's children.
You know, Hakeem Jeffries really sucks at being a theater kid because, as any theater kid knows, whenever you bring a prop forward, it's got to either join in with the grand theme or has to do something interesting. Like, for instance, this is Ollie the Elephant. Ollie loves being an independent critical thinker. He spends his time reading books like Conscience of a Conservative and Original Sin. He doesn't talk very much, but he does listen. He does study, and he loves America. So thank you for showing up, Ollie. That's how you use a prop, okay? That's a basic way. You don't hold up Elmo and shake it around saying, "Look at this," like you're waving around a bloody shirt. Which, by the way, is a completely different sort of prop that the Democrats keep on using, and no one's buying it anymore. But Steve Scalise is out here telling him what the USAID dollars were actually doing. They weren't just going to project soft power and show the rest of the world that America's nice. No, it was being used for all these little weird projects that were basically money laundering schemes for places that would never receive the funding, never actually get the, seriously, EV vehicles in Rwanda. That tells me that some non-government organization was making a quick buck saying that they could deliver something, and then when everything's all said and done, well, they couldn't fully deliver, but thanks for the money, we really appreciate it. Hey y'all, here's the deal. Gold loves President Trump. Under Trump's first term, the price of gold soared 53%, and the price of silver jumped 51%. Since the start of the second term, gold has skyrocketed even higher, breaking records and even outperforming stocks. Here's what I like about precious metals like gold and silver. They have been used as a store of value for centuries. Governments can't easily manipulate it. They are used as hedges against market risk and, of course, against inflation. That's why I partnered with the amazing people over at Goldco. Goldco is an award-winning precious metals company. They are fans of this show, and they have helped millions of Americans just like y'all to purchase over $3 billion in gold and silver. Right now, you can get a free copy of their 2025 gold and silver kit. On top of that, you might also qualify for their amazing unlimited silver bonus offer. So don't wait on this. Go to PolitiBrawlGold.com to learn more. That's PolitiBrawlGold.com or call 855-644-GOLD. That's what USAID did, and in order for this to make sense, when you're bringing up a prop like Sesame Street, you need to ask yourselves, well, why is Sesame Street no longer on the public dole? I thought it was part of NPR and PBS. Well, a while ago, they were about to file for bankruptcy. And to make matters even worse, they had partnered with HBO. But I'm actually going to take us out of the political stream here for just a brief moment and complain about the head of Warner Brothers. I absolutely despise this dude. Basically, he said that, yeah, we don't care about Sesame Street anymore, and he was going to kick him to the curb. And so they needed another corporate sponsor, and finally Netflix said, yeah, we'll do that. And as a matter of fact, that's exactly what Steve Scalise was talking about when Cookie Monster was doing a Netflix commercial. Now, I've never been a huge fan of Sesame Street, but this is how stupid Warner Brothers and HBO Max, and again, I know this isn't political, but this will make sense in a moment. It was announced on Friday, and that is Friday back in December of 2024, that the David Zaslav-headed Warner Brothers Discovery has planned a big fat for sale sign on Sesame Street to shift its programming focus to adult and family fare. Although it turns out that family fare does not mean for kids style of television. This is disgusting on a whole nother scale because it tells me that the president of Warner Brothers cares more about selling kids to another platform instead of keeping what made Warner Brothers great. What put Warner Brothers on the map was the literal Looney Tunes empire, which made a ton of my childhood. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because Warner Brothers wants to change its identity. They don't like what they used to be. They don't care anymore about what made them great to begin with. And we've got the same problem with the Democrat Party refusing to wrap itself in the flag in any way, shape, or form and show any positive virtues of American patriotism. The whole party instead cares more about the optics, they care more about the money, they care more about the illusion of money, and when I say that, what I mean is they care where the money goes to. And what that again really means, let's continue down this train here, they care more about how that money builds their own little corrupt empires, and it doesn't actually change anything about their worlds. Warner Brothers does not want to look back fondly on things like Looney Tunes, and they don't want to really care and look inside of themselves and wonder what made them great. There was even a major revival back in the 90s with a great set of animated TV shows, and I can't help but think that was sort of the last grasp of American culture. And the reason that is, again, so important is because a lot of the American identity started to really reform itself back in the 1930s, right when Warner Brothers and Walt Disney were really getting into animation. So you have your great characters like Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny. And now those characters have been left hanging out to dry by both companies, but particularly by Warner Brothers. And so the reason I'm bringing this up is no one seems to care about their roots or what things actually mean. If the Democrats cared about Sesame Street, they might be a little bit more caring about a stewardship and actually caring where their money goes. But they don't, because they care more about feeling good and instead of what is actually good and true. Steve Scalise is calling out this nonsense because the Democrats do not care that USAID was basically wasting the American taxpayer dollar without any oversight whatsoever. It has been a nightmare in order to figure out what has actually been going on over there, and the list is absolutely insane. So yeah, I think this is an unusual confluence for me, because as a theater kid myself, I actually know the way you're supposed to act in front of the camera, and Hakeem Jeffries just can't do it. He's not good at it. He's no Nancy Pelosi. He's not good in front of the camera, and he's not really good at keeping his caucus together. Nancy Pelosi was at least good at both. And Steve Scalise, well, he's a success story in of himself, because remember, Democrat rhetoric nearly led to his own demise because a radicalized person decided to unload a few rounds into the Republican congressional baseball practice. Steve Scalise fortunately survived the attempt. And maybe that person could have done a little bit more listening to Sesame Street along the way. Perhaps the Democrats need to really go back to the basics and start understanding why the Republicans love Grouch so much. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on PolitiBrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Until then, y'all have a good one.